Hi, this is some of our work on percentages this week. Here we can see some of the equivalent fractions and percentages and decimals that we did, and they ought to know these all off by heart. Often the children find it difficult to remember that 20% is the same as 0.2 or 20 hundredths or 2 tenths or 1/5. That tends to be the one they have the greatest trouble with. The work at the bottom there was simple percentages and fractions of money. So, for example, 50% of £1 would be 50p, or 75% of £2.40 would be 180. Easiest way of working out 75% is to remember its equivalent fraction of 3/4, which you would divide by 4. So that £2.41 divided by 4 is 60p. 3/4, 3 60p's gave that 180. So 75% of 240 was £1.80. The children found this work much more complex, mainly because it was more than one stage to it. So, for example, the 10% off £36, first of all they had to work out that £3.60 was 10% of £36 by dividing by 10, and then take that £3.60 from the £36 originally. Some children found it hard to realise that if they knew how to work out 10%, they could double that to work out 20% and then take that 20% away from the starting price. And also the idea of 15%. If they know 10% just by dividing by 10, and if they half it, that will give them 5%. So if they add together the 10% and the 5%, that would be 15%. And the quick way to find 25% is to divide by 4. The homework they've got, they might find a bit challenging. This one, 200 children on holiday, 10% going to Wales, they can work that out. 25% divided by 4 went to Scotland, find the difference between the two to find out how many more children went to Scotland than went to Wales. Show all the workings in this space here. This question, you need to work out what 10% of 55 is, and then that will tell you why Liam's statement can't be true. This one takes some thinking about. You're looking for a magic number that Megan's thinking of. 64 is just 20% of Megan's number, or 1/5 of Megan's number. The question actually asking you what 50% must be. There's more than one way of doing that. You could either, well, I'm not going to tell you actually, but if you could work out what 100% is and then half it, or there's another way of doing it as well. Question 4 is a familiar looking question in as much as it's a question of ordering some fractions, but they're in different forms: 3/4, 0.34, 0.7, 43%. You must convert them into a way that can be easily compared. So, for example, you could convert them all to decimals or convert them all to percentages. Whatever you do, it's much easier if you convert them to the same sort of representation of a fraction. If you do convert them into fractions, they really ought to have the same denominator. I think I'd convert them all into decimals. Question 5 is a little bit tricky. Work out how much it's been reduced by and what fraction of the original price that is. Question 6 is showing 40 children 40 children's predictions in the form of a pie chart, and if you can realise that 1/4 of the circle represents 25%, then that's a really good start for this activity.